This is the Sony A6700, and in this video I'm going to tell you why I think it's one of the best hybrid shooters out there that you can get for your money. By hybrid I mean shooting both photos and video. And obviously the nature of this channel, I talk about real estate marketing, so shooting real estate photos and video. So I will be talking a lot about why I think this camera is great for shooting real estate with. So without further ado, let's get on with talking about why I think this camera is such a good purchase. I'm not going to run through every spec of this camera because there's loads of videos out there already talking about that. I'm mainly going to be focusing on why I think this is great for shooting real estate photos and video. So let's get started with talking a bit about the sensor in this camera. It is an APS-C camera, and I know some of you out there might be groaning going, oh, why would I get an APS-C camera? I'll just go and get a full frame one. Well, yeah, you can, but there's some reasons which I'll touch upon later why I think APS-C cameras are great, especially now Sony really up their game, which I'm going to talk about now, and there's a lot more lenses out there for them as well. But back to the sensor. This is the same sensor that's in the FX30, which is a cinema line camera. So it's great for shooting video. I've shot with this and I've shot with the ZV-E1 as well. And that's the same sensor in the FX3. And to be honest, I've not noticed a huge amount of difference between the two, because obviously shooting real estate, especially over here in the UK, I shoot in some pretty low light conditions. So a camera that's going to be great in low light is what you need. And whilst the ZV-E1 was amazing, this has really held its own. And I'm going to put some examples on the screen now for you to see. And the dynamic range with this camera, I think it's up to like 13 stops. So you've got plenty to pull back. And it shoots in S-Log, obviously, which is what you're going to want to shoot in. And that's when you're going to get the most dynamic range. Just bear in mind, when you are shooting S-Log with this camera, you've got dual base ISOs, which are going to give you the sharpest detail. So that's going to be at 800 and also 2000. Like anything in between, you might start to get a bit of graininess. Anything over 2000, again, you're going to get a bit of graininess. But 2000 ISO is a great level to work with. And like I say, I've shot some pretty low light properties recently, and that 2000 ISO has given me a great range to shoot in and made it nice and bright whilst keeping all that detail. Sticking with the video, let's talk about frame rates. And it shoots 4K up to 120 frames per second, but that is going to give you some crop. And to be honest, 120 frames per second is a bit overkill for shooting real estate. Yes, we want to be able to slow the footage down to get that nice smooth footage, but shooting about 60 frames per second or 50 frames per second, depending on where you are in the world, it's going to be absolutely fine. And when you shoot at those frame rates, you're going to get no crop at all in 4K. So that's absolutely perfect for shooting real estate with. It also shoots 10-bit 422 color, so you're going to get absolutely fantastic colors, especially if you're shooting in S-Log, because it's going to give you the most amount of colors to work with when you come to edit. So going back to the sensor, I'm going to have to refer to my notes here because it's a bit of a mouthful. It is the 26 megapixel APS-C XMOR-R CMOS back illuminated sensor. It's the Bionz XR with AR processing. To be honest, I don't know what all that means, but like I say, it's a fantastic sensor for shooting both photos and video with. Sticking again with video, it does have amazing autofocus, as all Sony cameras do these days. I mean, it's been updated now to be able to autofocus on things like birds and planes or whatever. But to be honest, with shooting real estate, not going to be a big deal. I've actually got on here a manual focus lens, which I use for shooting the real estate video, because we're just shooting so wide anyway, don't really need all that tracking. But if you are shooting videos with estate agents and you're going to use the autofocus, then it is brilliant for that because it will keep the agent nice and sharp and focus. The stabilisation is also fantastic in this camera. It does have the dynamic active stabilisation. So if you did want to shoot handheld, then you're sorted. But to be honest, if you're shooting real estate, you're going to have it on a gimbal, and so you're going to be pretty sorted anyway. But if you are in a pinch and you shoot handheld, again, you should be fine. So now let's talk about some of the reasons why it's great for photography. It's a 26 megapixel camera, and that's absolutely fine for shooting real estate with. I mean, I know there are cameras out there now that go up to over 40 megapixels, but to be honest, it's a bit overkill really. I mean, a lot of these photos are just going to be viewed on real estate listing sites like Zillow in the US, Rightmove here in the UK, and often you're going to be crushing the file sizes down anyway. So 26 pixels, it's going to be absolutely fine to give you nice sharp images. And let's talk a bit about the APS-C sensor now with those photos, because some people might say, yeah, I want to get a full frame camera because it's going to give you the best quality. Well, like I say, these APS-C cameras now from Sony are absolutely fantastic. And one of the biggest reasons you'd get a full frame camera over an APS-C camera is to give you that nice bokeh background blur when you're doing photos. But in real estate, we never really need to use that. The only times we might do that are if we're doing little feature photos, like focusing on a little bit of detail so you can get more background blur. And to be honest, I don't do that often, and I can get enough with the APS-C sensor. Yes, you're going to get more with the full frame, but I don't warrant the extra £1,000 or whatever it's going to be for the camera, just for that extra bit of bokeh blur. One of the other reasons why I like APS-C cameras is obviously the price. I mean, these cameras come in a lot cheaper than full frame cameras. In this camera you can get for about £1,500 here in the UK. I actually got it on the black market, so kind of shipped in from China somewhere, but it works absolutely fine. I got it for just over £1,000. And then obviously you pair that with the lenses you can get a really good setup for less than £2,000. I mean, I got the Sigma 10-18 lens, which was about £650, I think, and then the camera. So the whole setup cost me about £1,800. If you compare that to a full frame equivalent, I mean, you could get the A7C2 for I think about £2,000, but then the lenses, you're going to be looking well over £1,000. So you're definitely looking about £3,000 to £3,500, maybe £4,000 for the whole setup. So you are looking about double the price for that full frame setup. And so you can get yourself a lot more lenses if you're looking at APS-C cameras. There are also some great third-party lenses out there now. Like I just mentioned, the Sigma do a great line of lenses for this APS-C range. I mean, Sony have released some brilliant lenses too, especially the wide lenses, which I'll put up in the links below. But I've also bought this TT Artisan lens, and this actually cost me, believe it or not, just over £100. I just couldn't believe how cheap it was. I had to give it a go because I thought, geez, at that price, not much loss. And to be honest, it's absolutely amazing, and I use it for shooting video. It's a 10mm manual focus lens, but like I say, shooting real estate video, I don't need the autofocus that much. So this is an absolute bargain. So I definitely look at APS-C cameras if you do want to save a bit of money. A couple of other things to consider with this camera is it does only come with one SD card slot. And I know for some people that could be a bit of a deal breaker, especially maybe if you're a wedding photographer or videographer where you need that backup. But to be honest, I've never really experienced any issues with losing footage or photos direct from the camera. So having the one SD card slot is not really an issue to me. I'm just going to take that risk. In terms of battery life, the batteries come with the NP-FZ100 batteries, so you get great battery life out of this. I mean, if I put a battery and go out and do a shoot of 4 properties at the start of the day, that lasts me the whole day, and same again if I'm going to go shoot videos of a couple of properties, that's probably going to get me through both those properties. So these batteries really do last great, but obviously get yourself a few just to cover your back. The camera is also Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled, so if you do want to do some wireless shooting, which I do find handy from time to time, you can control it with the Sony app or whatever tethering system you might want to use. In terms of ports, you haven't got loads. That's because it's quite a small camera. You just have a USB-C, a micro HDMI, and also a mic in port. And although it's not loads, to be honest, that's all I need, is because the only times I'm really using them are to record audio when I'm shooting a real estate agent. So you should be fine if that's all you're using it for too. The other great thing I love about shooting with APS-C cameras is they are nice and small and lightweight. And if you've watched much of my channel before, you'll know that that's something I value very much. I mean, this camera is really quite small and lightweight, and paired with some of the lenses you get for this, like this TT Artisan lens, it's a really tiny lightweight setup. And when you're going around a property, maybe for a couple of hours or so, you don't want to be lugged down with loads of heavy equipment, which full frame cameras and lenses can be. So these are great if you do want a nice lightweight setup. So in summary, if you are in the market for getting a great hybrid shooter, I really don't think you can get far wrong with getting the Sony A6700. That's because it's a great video camera, because it's great in low light and also shoots the 50 and 60 frames per second with no crop. Paired with how good a photo camera is with that 26 megapixel camera, this is going to be perfect for all your real estate photo and video needs. So if you do like the look of this camera, I have got some affiliate links below, so check those out. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all again soon.